Et salut tout le monde, c'est Link. On se retrouve aujourd'hui pour un nouveau let's play sur le jeu The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, bien entendu. J'espère que vous allez bien, papa. Ça va. Plusieurs jours qu'il n'y a pas eu de vidéo de let's play parce que je ne savais pas trop quoi faire, et aussi un petit manque de motivation dû au fait que, comme je vous l'ai dit, il me faut les diplômes pour faire le rendu d'une vidéo et diplôme plus diplôme pour tout simplement upload une vidéo. Donc j'avoue que ça me démotive un petit peu à upload en ce moment, mais voilà, j'ai envie quand même de continuer à faire des SP et compagnie. Donc nous sommes repartis. Peut-être que pour contrer à ça, je ne proposerai plus de 1080p du moins pendant un moment, et que peut-être je vais vous proposer de la 720p seulement. En tout cas, ce que je veux, c'est pas une qualité pourrave comme il y a eu sur Let's Play Stray ou les premiers épisodes de Plague Tale. Alors, je crois que ça allait encore visuellement, mais moi, je le voyais quand même, que c'était pas beau par rapport à ce que c'était avant, et ça me gênait. Bref, nous sommes du coup partis pour un nouveau jeu, ne parlons plus du passé. Puis vous verrez si c'est en 1080p ou pas. Donc, de Stanley Parable, je ne sais pas vraiment ce que c'est. Je sais que c'est une expérience très certainement incroyable à jouer. À mon avis, dans la même veine que Ultra Liminal. En tout cas, il n'a pas de graphique, ça y ressemble un peu. Je pense que ça va être un jeu très philosophique, compagnie bidule. Euh, donc, écoutez, on va être parti. Et let's go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok, son jeu. Oh, la sensibilité. Ça, j'ai pas pensé à baisser. Sensibilité. J'ai pas enregistré, c'est ça? Si. Bon bah purée, moi, je peux pas descendre plus bas de toute façon. Ok, bon bah, restons à zéro. Oula, même les déplacements, c'est... Y'a pas eu de sensibilité pour les déplacements? Ok. I hate Mondays. Tout le monde déteste les lundis. C'est le début de la semaine.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Je pense que c'est un jeu où c'est marrant de regarder un peu autour de nous. Un peu ça pire. I like war. J'aime bien travailler, je teste juste mon boss. Soit ma Valentine. Ah, ça va pas être un aspect très long, hein, je pense. Qui a pété? Fuck, je suppose qu'il y a écrit. Ah, non. Fuel. Ah, encore quelqu'un qui déteste le lundi. Pas de touche pour courir.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok. Alors, je m'attendais à ce que le jeu soit... ne pas se faire des trucs comme ça. On peut très bien choisir de prendre celle de droite, du coup. Le mec me dit il va prendre celle de gauche. On peut très bien prendre celle de droite. Voilà, là c'est le genre de moment où je sais pas quoi faire. Est-ce que je veux être contradictoire ou est-ce que je veux suivre la marche à suivre? J'ai envie d'être contradictoire.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Je vais voir si je peux rester encore un peu.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Je vais voir si je peux encore rester.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue. When a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Je reste. C'est mon humour ça. Je suis un dernier, allez. Je peux rien prendre en boisson? Bien sûr. Bon, ok. Y'a rien de plus, vous êtes sûr?
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
On va être contradictoire. Très souvent.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Et du coup, il doit y avoir plusieurs... Ça doit être un joueur, un choix en fait. Un choix. À différentes routes disponibles, non? Au final, tout nous ramènerait au même endroit, mais on s'en rendrait pas compte.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Quoi? Et la prochaine fois qu'il me demande quelque chose, je ferai la bonne chose. Pour lui faire plaisir.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Waouh. Ok, c'est bien creepy. C'est un peu creepy
This
là.
is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Quoi? Fais sur X sur votre clavier.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
J'essaie d'appuyer sur d'autres touches, mais ça fait rien.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Sur H pour regarder la télévision.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Passer du temps entre potes.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Bah allez, on le fait pas. Mais après, on va peut-être pas avoir le choix. Je sens que ça va rien faire. C'est peut-être pour ça qu'il dit que je vais le faire dans tous les cas. Je pense que j'ai pas le choix.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ne rien remettre en question.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps Well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again,
Pardon?
and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
D'accord.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Alors on recommence.
When Stanley
Ah.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Est-ce que c'est genre, je recommence vraiment? C'est le but du jeu, genre de recommencer jusqu'à avoir la vraie route? Ou est-ce que justement on est à la suite et je peux très bien choisir encore une fois de continuer à ne pas faire ce qu'on me demande? Bon, on va aller là.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Slide, ça doit pas vouloir dire ce que je pense. Pour moi c'était glissade, mais je pense que dans le monde du travail ça devrait dire autre chose peut-être. À l'aide, je suis un post-it. Bon, je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de trucs à lire, mais...
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Cette
office.
fois on va essayer de suivre bien ce qu'il nous dit de faire. Ah ouais. Classieux. Hein? Attends. Pas un truc qui permet de traduire ce qui est écrit parce que j'avoue que là j'ai du mal à... Merci. Bah. Active l'effet de traduction pour les textes en jeu. Après là il veut pas me le traduire. Mais non là j'ai du mal à comprendre ce que ça veut dire. Parce que le boss c'est... That what the boss is go... Bah le dos. C'est pour ça que le boss dit... C'est gosse. Il dit d'y aller. Si le boss souffre de perdre, donc c'est ce que le boss a choisi. J'ai absolument pas compris. Je pense que j'ai pas du tout compris la traduction. C'est quoi ce tableau horrible? Business strategy. On va prendre l'ascenseur. Bon, on va aller voir le bureau.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Oui.
Amazing.
Yes.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Sorti. Écoutez, on va essayer de suivre pour l'instant ce qu'il me dit de faire. J'ai voulu faire mon bâtard au début, mais essayons de suivre.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Il parlait de ça tout à l'heure quand j'ai choisi de refuser de faire tout ce qu'il me disait de faire.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Je veux juste voir c'est quoi le fire dès le truc bugué là. Bon, rien de particulier. Je m'attendais à avoir un truc un peu plus particulier. C'est assez impressionnant en vrai comme visuel.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ok. On peut aller là-haut. 1, 2. Ça ne fait rien. Mais peut-être de 1. Il y a d'autres des boutons comme ça? 3. 5. Est-ce que c'est un truc qu'on peut faire maintenant réellement? Il manque le 4. Peut-être suivre la marche à suivre pour l'instant. Un gros bouton. Pas du tout. Ouais, ça me stresse, je veux savoir le 4. En fait, il est là-haut, non? Et c'est là-haut le 4. Bah, on peut pas y aller de toute façon, donc... Je sais pas trop si ça servent à quoi ces chiffres. Continuons.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Bon, on va désactiver, hein.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Yeah.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ok, donc j'ai un succès pour avoir terminé le jeu. Je pense que les succès est un peu la source pour nous aider dans ce jeu. Je regarde vite fait les succès là. Ah, pas tant que ça. C'est sérieux cette question, ce succès? Ne jouez pas à ce Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans? Mais personne ne l'a? Attendez, affichez les stats de succès général. Non, il y a des gens qui l'ont. Et comment c'est possible? Et ça fait pas plus de 10 ans qu'il est sorti ce jeu. Cliquez 5 fois sur la porte 430. Elle est là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah ben, je pense que moi, c'est ça pour ce premier épisode. On tentera d'appuyer 5 fois sur cette porte. Donc je pense effectivement que le but c'est d'essayer d'avoir les différentes fins qui s'offrent à nous. Mais est-ce qu'il y a un truc Jouer à ce Stanley Parable pendant tout un mardi. Dommage, j'en ai mercredi aujourd'hui, ça c'est un peu triste. Ouais, il y a des trucs, ouais, ça donne pas trop d'infos. Ouais, il y en a pas tant que ça parce que je pensais qu'il y en aurait
No matter
beaucoup.
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ah oui, d'accord, donc il y a encore des dialogues si je reste super longtemps ici. Non? Donc ouais, c'est particulier. Je m'attendais à ce que ce soit plus scénaristique que ça. Là, j'ai pas mal de choix qui s'offrent à moi. Enfin, en fait, ce que je veux dire, c'est que je pensais pas que c'était un jeu où j'allais recommencer à chaque fois. Euh, Donc écoutez, ouais, c'est ça pour ce premier épisode. On tentera du coup de faire d'autres choses dans le prochain épisode. J'espère que... Jusqu'à découvrir s'il y a une fin, quelque chose, une finalité, quelque chose à faire au final. Alors, en tout cas, j'espère que ce premier épisode vous aura plu, que ça vous intriguera. Bon, en tout cas, je suis intrigué. Si c'est le cas, n'hésitez pas à mettre un j'aime, à vous abonner si ce n'est pas déjà fait, et à mettre un commentaire. Et on se retrouve pour le prochain épisode. Allez, salut tout le monde. Bye bye.